Good morning, fellas. It's a privilege to be speaking with you all. This is a bit of a full circle moment for me because I was a part of the initial conversation to adopt Young Men United into the United Way of the Midlands family. And I remember thinking how beneficial it would be for the community if this ever got off the ground. So I'm happy to see that it's actually materialized and thriving heading into the third or fourth year. And I'm grateful for the tremendous effort by a team of individuals who actually prioritize the work. And I thank them for allowing me to speak today as well. Are you interested in creating generational change and becoming the leader that you're meant to be? That's the question that was posed on the website for interested applicants of this Young Men United program. Are you resilient? And do you possess competitive greatness, which I define as being at your best when your best is needed? Challenging yourself to be great at being who you are, accepting the uniqueness of your own journey, understanding that it will not mirror anyone else's, and then validating your own truth with an honest conversation about your intrinsic motivation. So as a young kid that grew up without a father, I was desperate to find something or someone to connect to. And I absolutely fell in love with basketball. Like, it was a pure passion. I wanted to play it every single day. And I loved it that much because it alleviated the strain of everyday life. And most of the time I was playing by myself. Michael Jordan was my favorite athlete. I was inspired by his energy and the grace of his athleticism. The standard that he set with his play was impossible, but it didn't deter me from chasing the greatness of his image. Like most people at that time, like, I wanted to be like Mike. I had a life-size poster of him in my room, and seeing it every day drove my desire to excel at whatever I chose to do. I got pretty good at b-ball, but the summer before my junior year, I realized without a growth spurt, it wasn't gonna be part of my profession. And that was a hard truth to acknowledge, but I had to accept it. But what I learned from my experience with basketball is that I love the satisfaction that came from the competition. And I developed this healthy addiction to chase, like, that pleasure and that sensation that comes from giving your all to something you love. And then I instantly adopted that as a core principle to how I interpret everything in my life. And I implemented that in every part of my life. And as I stand here today, it still dominates how I operate and how I navigate life. What caught me off guard a bit was that I'm a bit of a perfectionist, so I'm never really satisfied with my best effort. And I had a hard time recreating the passion I had for basketball for anything else. Football came close. So my junior year of high school is where I transferred my energy to. But I didn't have the natural passion for it. I didn't look forward to playing it. I didn't enjoy it naturally. It just became the means in which I chose to challenge myself. My goal was getting to college, and an athletic scholarship was the only way I was gonna do that. Up to that point, I didn't know anybody that had ever been to college before, so I wanted to be the first. Now, I was blessed with effortless speed. I didn't even know how fast I was until I started competing in football. And it drew a lot of attention. But I didn't have the natural appeal for the game itself. But I ended up competing my last 2 years in high school anyway, and it drew the attention of South Carolina, Clemson, and Georgia. And I accepted the first scholarship. Greenville, South Carolina. I went to Eastside High School. Yeah. So I accepted the first athletic scholarship that was offered to me by Carolina. And despite being from Greenville, being surrounded by a bunch of Clemson fans, I became a Carolina Gamecock. I only played receiver in high school, though. I didn't play much defense. But our second day on campus, as the freshmen reported to fall camp, our coaches put us through drills to test our abilities. And there were about 25 All-American, All-World, All-State athletes there. And I probably graded the lowest from a recruiting standpoint, but that day I tested at the top of the class. So the head coach called me in, kind of marveled at the ability I still didn't know I had, and proceeded to introduce me to the defensive side of the ball. He put me at cornerback. And I absolutely fell in love with it. But I hadn't tackled anybody up to that point, and I didn't really have a desire to tackle anybody. So I redshirted and spent that first year learning how to play defense. I was so inspired by the energy that came back that I had for basketball for that same position, that one-on-one competition that comes with cornerback. I fell in love with it so much that I wanted to learn every aspect of what it took to be great at it. And I spent the entire spring training and ended up running a 4.31 for the NFL scouts as a freshman that following spring. And I earned a starting spot that fall as a redshirt freshman starting at cornerback. Looking forward to the competition. I tore my ACL, MCL, and PCL on the second drive of the first quarter of the second game as a starting cornerback for the Gamecocks, playing against Georgia Bulldogs, national TV, SEC game. I had to have an emergency surgery because I had a gruesome injury that bent my knee in a 90-degree angle in the opposite direction it was intended to operate. So I had to have emergency surgery the next morning. And I still get emotional about it, even after a 10-year career in which I started 75% of the games that I participated in, competing against some of the best athletes in the world, despite having 6 different shoulder dislocations, the same exact injury, but 6 different operations. And today finally realized that the solution was taking a piece of my shoulder blade, a bone fragment, and screwing it into my shoulder socket to keep it from dislocating. So even though it kept sliding, it stopped popping out. Now you think I have a genuine sense of accomplishment given that I've been able to overcome those career-threatening injuries and being able to compete against those athletes in one of the most popular sports in the world and one of the toughest sports in the world. I didn't enjoy it a little bit. Not even a little bit. I'm addicted to being at my best when my best is needed. I had a hard time accepting that my best effort would always be less than the best of who I knew myself to be. So I had to fabricate inspiration. I had to learn how to thrive in a role as a role player that was just given the consistent assignment of defending the opposition's fastest player, and then deriving pleasure from watching my teammates thrive. But I absolutely missed that daily satisfaction that came with, being at my best. So for me, pure passion is how I confirm that my spirit is tied to how I define my own greatness. I've continued to exhaust all my resources, time, energy, effort, connections, money, you name it, just to reconnect to that feeling. And ironically, connecting you all to that feeling has become my new pure passion. I absolutely love what I do as a licensed professional counselor. It's the ultimate competition to game plan for your individual wellness. So I get to design plays to put you in a position to be at your best when your best is needed, to help you develop your gifts, to cater to your skill set, fully intent on helping you win at life by overcoming challenging situations. One of my best buddies is an NFL Hall of Famer. He invited me to his induction speech. It's been about a few years ago. And watching him in that moment felt greater to me than I can imagine it would have felt had it been me. That's how much of an appreciation I have for our unconditional friendship. And a similar thing happens when I'm able to connect with you all, knowing that you possess that comparable desire to be great at being who you are. It's going to be a challenge. It will be a challenge. When I retired in 2012, despite having my college degree, despite spending multiple off seasons preparing for the end of my career, I was completely lost in terms of professional aspirations. And I felt lied to. I felt deceived by society's ideal of what it meant to have it all. Because I had everything I needed to maximize my life. And I was empty. Empty. I was at war with who I was as opposed to who I thought I was supposed to be. And because I'm a perfectionist, I drove myself into self-destruction, unintentionally. It was my belief that at age 33 that my life had already peaked. And with no way forward, I unintentionally took a step back, not knowing that the peak of my life was actually a cliff overlooking a bottomless pit that led to a free fall, uncontrollable free fall, of me just thinking about all my flaws, my failures, my fears and faults. And I could not find the remedy to stop it. Maybe one of y'all can finish this lyric for me. J. Cole lyric, love yours. The good news is you've come a long way. The bad news is, thank you. So if I knew this to be true, if I knew that I've come a long way, but I thought I went the wrong way, and it's my belief that the greatest version of me will always be enough in any given moment. If life really is a marathon, and I'm midway through it, do I have the courage to reset and restart? I'm a bit of an Avengers nerd, so maybe y'all will recognize this quote. We all fail at who we are supposed to be. The measure of a person is how well you succeed at who you are. And there's also a scene in Black Panther when T'Challa is losing his battle for his throne to M'Baku, and his queen mother yells out, "Show them who you are." One of my favorite theorists has a quote that says, "Life will ask you who you are, and if you don't know, then life will tell you." So the first question I had to ask myself was, who are you? And this was the internal dialogue that started the conversation, the honest conversation about my motivations. And it led to the book that I wrote that's called Maybe I'm Ill. Because I had to actually analyze if I was internally broken with this insatiable appetite to be great at something that didn't even exist. And if I was delusional to hang on to a childhood dream of being great at something. So who are you? What's your motivation? Why are you so motivated? What's your greatest challenge? And what is your dreams? So as I got deeper into this conversation, I was confronted with a bunch of repressed memories from my childhood that I had compartmentalized and hadn't thought about because I was chasing something greater. And as a grown man, I felt like an 8-year-old kid. I hit rock bottom. Mentally, I hit rock bottom. But what I learned is that 8-year-old kid was the originator of my delusional dream. And I found out why he created it. Those dreams protected him from his reality. Neighborhood violence, domestic violence, family incarcerations, family addiction, and a father I didn't know. So in this internal conversation, I was able to validate the truth behind my motivation. I asked him 2 simple questions. Am I the role model that you needed in that moment? And if life is a marathon, and I am who you know you're going to become, would you hit reset? That's the positive affirmation I needed to stop fighting against myself and give myself the hand I needed to pick myself up from rock bottom. That kid needs me to be delusional in my self-belief. So I continue to believe that pure passion is where I'm going to find the greatest version of myself, because it means that I'm giving my all to something I love. So it makes it easier to stand up here and be vulnerable and share my story with you all, because if you are interested in creating generational change and becoming the leader that you would follow, you're going to have to be willing to challenge yourself. And as a man or professional football player that thrived on one-on-one competition, that has been mossed by Randy Moss multiple times, I will still tell you there is no greater challenge than accepting who you are to become who you want to be. Which means you have to be willing to turn yourself upside down and inside out and get comfortable with discomfort and adjust to life challenges. So when they get overwhelming and life challenges feel like they're too great, the best way to be at your best when your best is needed is using your truth as your greatest weapon. And having an honest conversation with yourself. What does it mean to be resilient? To adjust, adapt, and achieve a positive outcome despite the adversity. Be willing to challenge yourself, be resilient. I expect you all to be great at being who you are. And if you find yourself having a hard time giving yourself the hand you need, come find me. Together, we'll put together a customized game plan for your overall wellness, and I look forward to it. So thank you all for listening. I appreciate the time. If you have questions, I'll address them. What teams did I play for? I got drafted by the Detroit Lions in the 3rd round. Spent 4 years in Detroit. Spent 3 years in Miami, and my final 3 years with the Denver Broncos. Go ahead.
So did you play with Megatron?
Megatron came to Detroit a year after I left, so I had to compete against them, and it wasn't fun at all. It wasn't fun at all. Yeah, Ocho, yeah. I had to watch him at the line of scrimmage do that thing with his feet that he still loves doing, yeah. I competed against Ocho.